Well, it's almost Father's Day, like in maybe 3 weeks, it's Father's Day, which means you've got a little bit of time to figure out what it is that you're going to do to demonstrate to whoever is a father figure in your life, and I hope it's your dad. I hope it's your dad. But if not, I hope it's someone who mentors and supports and is on your side. It's time to think about what you're going to do or get him or do for him to move the needle for him and help him go into this next year knowing, you know, that kid or that young man or that grown man does not take me for granted. I'm going to start with the least expensive things you can do with your wallet. We'll move up through some more expensive things, and then we'll talk about the really worthwhile things that you can do with your words and with your ambition to maybe cement the meaning of the day. So the least expensive, I have learned that Milwaukee, their Inkzol, they make a really good Sharpie on steroids. This thing is worthy of being carried in your tool bag. It doesn't have to be a real clean substrate. It'll mark on almost anything. And once it's marked, buddy, it's marked. Doesn't cost much. I think I paid $3 or $4 for that. Anybody would be glad to have one. So you can do a fine line or a fat line, and you can get these in smaller sizes, and they're cheap. Next item, buy a Stanley tape. I just saw a news story that these things are going to be moving overseas to be made. Now, I don't know what that means. It kind of breaks my heart, but I still love their tapes, and I think I only paid about, I don't know, 12 or 14 bucks for that 25-footer. Now, the smaller ones that are handier cost a little more. I don't think they sell near as many. I don't think they sell near as many for the money. But anyway, get him a Stanley tape, whether it's a little bitty thing to drop in his pocket or on his keychain or something, you know, something that'll reach out there and touch someone. You can't do much better than a Stanley tape for the money. All right, so here's a thing in case you just don't know. If your dad's a framer or a carpenter or a roofer or he works outside or a concrete worker, and he's got to be able to reach out there 5 or 6 or 7 feet and hook on something, you know, or reach up in the air, then a 25 or a 30 or a 35-footer, great. He doesn't mind if it takes up some space. If he works in a cabinet shop or a laminate shop or a granite shop or probably an electrician, a 12 or a 16-footer is about right. And if it's just for, you know, having some way to measure a fish, you know, they make little 3-footers that'll go on your keychain. So heavy work, bigger tapes, medium work, medium-sized tapes, light work, little tapes. All right, we did a video that included this maybe a year ago. And you guys have taken me to the woodshed a couple times. I said these had recently come to market, and somebody said Lennox has had these out for 20 years. Well, I don't know. But this is a stab saw that will receive the blades from a Sawzall, which means you can put any kind of a blade in there, and if it's that long or shorter, it's going to tuck in and not cut anybody, but it's big enough to do some good, and yeah, you can swap it out, and whatever blade you've got, let me see if I can do that for the camera. Whatever blade you've got for your Sawzall, you've automatically got for your stab saw. I think that is a fine idea, and I think I paid 15 or 16 bucks for that. Moving up the continuum. This is an optical center punch. We did a couple videos on how to mark for drilling accurately. Well, I'm a carpenter and a blacksmith, and so right away, you guys pointed out to me that I really don't know how to mark a center punch accurately, but somebody told me about an optical center punch. And the idea is that you can look down into that little piece of polycarbonate or whatever that is, and it's got crosshairs in there. So you can move that very accurately right over a precise point. I mean precise. Hold it down, move the crosshairs, put the center punch in there, give it a whack. What have I got? I don't have there's a hammer. Give it a whack. And that is about as accurate as you're going to get. I think this was $16. How do they make that for $16? I don't know. But an optical center punch is something that I didn't know about then, and I'm glad I know about it now. Now, this little electric screwdriver was referred to us by Russ Bowers. He's part of the Essential Craftsman Academy. Russ is such an interesting guy. He is not afraid to do things, and he does them well. And he also does computer stuff and drafting. And he said, hey, I just found the coolest little electric screwdriver. I think this is some sort of an off-brand, but the price was right. And his point is a good point. This thing turns kind of slow compared to a drill driver or an impact driver, but it turns in both directions. And it's not super torquey, but it's torquey enough to run a lot of screws in. And if it runs up against the power limit on this thing, you can use it as a regular screwdriver and put whatever torque your forearm can manage onto the screw that you're working on. So I've never owned one. Nate bought it on Russ's recommendation. He likes it. And if Nate likes it, it's a pretty good recommendation that it's a good tool. Check it out. Now here's a cool thing about this, besides that I think it's less than 30 bucks, is it charges with a regular USB-C, just like your phone or so many other gizmos. Very unobtrusive. Charge it, it'll run you quite a while. Okay, so let's step away from tools for a second, as bad as it pains me, and tell you that Costco is quite a store. I have learned through sad experience, not exactly sad experience, but if Costco's got it for sale, it's probably high quality and a good price, right? Okay, especially these things. Costco's has got a big candy aisle sometimes. And these Utah truffles, dark chocolate truffles with sea salt, I don't think I've ever laid a fang on a better piece of chocolate than those truffles. So if your dad's got a sweet tooth, and if you live close to a Costco, and if they've got these on the shelf, nobody's going to be disappointed. And on the same trip, I don't know how much these are. Maybe Kelly was afraid to tell me. I don't know. She's not afraid to tell me, but on the same trip, they sell Old Trapper Jerky. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Old Trapper Jerky. I assume they've got that all over the place. This is whatever their standard beef jerky is. I like their peppered jerky. They got a good teriyaki jerky. It's just anything you get from these guys, you're going to like, and you're going to have a hard time keeping it around, because if your kids find it, it's over. So here's two aftermarket tool attachments. And this one was sent to me. Josh Hayes reached out when I was doing the bench. He said, hey, I make sander lights. You want one? And I thought, okay. And he sent it to me, and not being a woodworker, I underestimated how nice it was going to be able to really have some light right where you're sanding. It saved me several times from walking away from what I thought was a finished sanding job, because I could actually see the scratches. It doesn't cost much. He makes them for all the different sanding platforms and sander sizes. He's a great guy. Check it out. If your dad sands a lot of woodwork, he will be surprised, and I think he will be glad to have one of these things in his wood shop. All right, this next one. I bought one of these, when? Last winter. Yes, I bought it last winter because, like I said, we did a couple videos on drilling holes. And I saw online bullseye bore, and somebody was bragging about it, and so I bought one. And man, I could see why they were bragging. And so we did that video, and I used it a couple times in the wood shop, and then I hung a couple of gates out in the backyard, but I didn't make any video out of it. But I had to drill 5/8 holes through 13, 14-inch posts. 3 holes, and I wanted them oriented in the same line, square to the annulus of the round post, so that the hinges would all be lined up. The bullseye bore saved me. Now, it was almost full sunlight, so the green laser barely showed up. And a red laser, which is the other type, probably wouldn't have. But you see what that does? That creates an ellipse if you're not square. Now this is an example of a long bit like that sort of builds in the possibility of sort of magnifying the discrepancy. So they sell this magnetic spacers. So you can get the bullseye bore out closer to where the work is happening. Now on a 12-inch bit, it doesn't make all the difference in the world, but now this thing, I think costs 60 or, well, the bullseye bore I think costs, I don't know, 60 or 65 bucks. Get the green one, because he may want to go outside sometime. I don't even know what that costs. They just included it. And the reason, repeating myself, that they had to include it was I bought the first one and then lost it. I drilled those posts, tried to get ready for this video, didn't have it, emailed them, hey, send me another, would you? So they overnight aired this here, so we got it here in time for the video. It's a great tool. It's, I think it's made in the United States. I'm not swearing to that, but I like it. And even if they would not have sent this to me, I would have bought one to replace the one that I lost. Okay, so this next item is, as far as I know, pretty new to the market. That thing will jumpstart your car. It'll jumpstart your truck. I've heard of people jumpstarting their tractors with that thing. This is charged up. There's the clips. It'll charge your phone. It'll do all kinds of things. And this, I think we paid $110 or $115 for. You can get them for less, but I've got to assume it's like everything else. At a certain point, less is not more. But I've got 2 daughter-in-laws that have each had in their own van the capacity to jumpstart that van and get on the road again because they had one of these in the back. That's a recommendation. Kelly's going to have this in the back of her car from now on. These things were sent to us a year ago, free of charge, almost unsolicited. Matt Coleman at Coleman Metalworks, Hodag, reached out, hey, you guys do a garden, would you like to try my garden tools? And Kelly said, sure. So these showed up in the mail. Well, they didn't get used last year, but they've been used this year already. And you can tell that my wife was all about starting, because when they showed up, they were sharp, and she didn't even take time to pull off the dipped on rubber coating. I mean, when they come, they are protected so you don't hurt yourself. But here's the thing, these are made in the United States. They're made right here. I don't know how many of these other things are, but these are. They're ergonomic, they're light, and this metal is heat treated. You can tell it's been tempered, at least, by the tempering colors that show up underneath the nice clear coat. They're beautiful, they fit in your hand, they will till, they will weed, they will edge, they will dig, and Kelly's been doing all of that. So if your dad is a gardener, if he's got raised beds, or if he likes to get out in the yard and make it beautiful, check out Hodag. They are something that it looks to me like is going to last a good long time. And I think they look good while they do it. Now, it's been a long time, too long, some would say, since I have showcased a Burke bar on my channel. It was one of the first tools that I raved about to you guys, and some of you didn't get it, and some of you really got it. So this was a Marshalltown. You can get a Marshalltown Burke bar equivalent all over the place. I think the box stores sell them, and they work great. They are essentially the same thing. I love them. Now Burke Concrete Accessories, Burke bar, they're the ones that came to market, sent me this. I've been using it. I mean, I like that lemon yellow color, right? It's easier to find on the job. But the upshot is this. However close they are to precisely the same, and they are very close to precisely the same, the function is like nothing else. We've got videos about this, and your dad, if he doesn't have one, if your dad does any heavy work at all, he needs one. They don't cost much. I don't know what they cost. I haven't bought one in a long time. But just take my word for this. If your dad ever has to lift anything heavy, tear anything apart, break something that just has to be broken, he's got to have a Burke bar. Now, some of you are nodding your heads, and what I need you to do, for those of you who have never used one and think that it's an ungainly, over-heavy, overrated piece of iron, put in the comments the things that you have done with a Burke bar that maybe could not have been done in any other way. Use cases. I jacked up the back of a Datsun pickup one time with a Burke bar. I've torn a lot of things apart. I've broken a few things, and that is only scratching the surface of the things that you can do with a pry bar like this. So let us know, would you? All right, the last item that you can get anywhere is a Makita tool that probably not enough people have tried. And the only reason I bought it was part of a set, and my wife needed one for her bees. This little blower is a variable speed, and you turn it down on 1, and it'll just whisper along, and you can blow the bees off of the frames, and you can blow the sawdust off of your desk. And if you turn it up to 3, it gets right with it. You can blow leaves off your patio, but the punchline is this. If you've already got a Makita platform, think about a little blower. They are just handy. They're double handy. And if my kids would have given this to me 3 or 4 years ago when I bought it anyhow, in about 30 seconds, I would have been darn glad to have it. and it's never gotten past that point. I'm always darn glad to have it. Now, here's the elephant in the living room. Costco beef jerky did not sponsor this video. Nobody sponsored this video. So before I talk about the big ticket items that you can do, that you can give to your dad with your words and your work and your appreciation and maybe a letter, before I talk about that, I have just a few more items to represent to you that they're items that I'm selling, because that's the only way this video is sponsored. The first thing you need to know is you can go to our website. Everything we have for sale is there, including membership in the Essential Craftsman Academy. Buy your dad that. If he's a member of the Academy, he can get discounts on all the other stuff. And if he wants to hang out with me at Shop Talk, if he wants to talk to Nate about camera questions, if he wants to talk to any of dozens of other guys that are there twice a month in a Zoom meeting, and we show each other what we're building, and we ask each other our questions, and we talk about how to get out of a jam, and we get technical advice on almost any subject of significance that's related to construction or productivity, send him to Shop Talk. If he's a channel fan anyway, I can get to know him better at Shop Talk than any other way. And if he doesn't like it, he doesn't have to stick around. Next item. Besides all the other swag that you can get, t-shirts and hats and sweatshirts and all of that, you could get him a Formsetter. Who doesn't need a Formsetter? Everybody needs a Formsetter. This is a 5-pounder. They come in 3s and 7s. This is the Mama Bear, right? I've hawked this until you're sick of hearing about it. But everybody I talk to who has one likes it. There's been 3 handles break that seemed odd, and so I sent him new handles. One guy was using this. He's a fireman. He was using this for forced entry instead of the fireman's axe. He wanted a longer handle. I sent him a longer handle. It's great to interact with the guys who use these because, it confirms my confirmation bias that this is a good tool. Your dad would like one of these. It almost doesn't matter what your dad does. If he gets his clothes dirty in the shop, now if he's a mechanic, this is not for him. But if he makes things, if he's a woodworker or a blacksmith or possibly a machinist, an apron is a handy tool. This is as good an apron as you can buy. Steve Harris makes these. This is full grain cowhide. The thing's heavy. It's put together like it's a piece of horse tack. You're never going to wear it out. And besides that, you're always going to look like you're there to work. Anyhow, they're nice. They're expensive because leather is expensive. Steve's a great guy. We've been in his shop plenty of times. And I have about a dozen of these in stock. When those are gone, we'll order some more. But have a look. You might want an apron like this, or more importantly, your dad might. You know something that I have long been jealous of? There are families where at each parting, even on the phone, even if somebody's going to the grocery store, if someone's been home from college and goes back to college, at parting, they say, I love you, including Dad. Dad says, I love you. I feel in my bones that that's a good thing. I recognize that something said too often can lose its significance. But growing up in a home where I never heard my dad say, I love you to or about anything, until I overheard him saying it to my mom when she was on her deathbed, I've thought, that's a habit that I should adopt. But it's not easy. How is it in your house? If you're the dad, how is it for you? Now, if you're the kid, and that's not instituted in your home, you need to know that your stature in your home as a child is significant enough to start that tradition. Or how about this? How about let's ratchet this back to where it's not so daunting. Maybe you're riding somewhere with Dad. Maybe you're in the truck, maybe you're in the car, maybe it's the two of you. Maybe you've been in there for 20 minutes, maybe you've been in there for an hour, and conversation has died down, and you're just listening to a country western song. Well, there's nothing wrong with country western. But at some level, at the right moment, you could reach over and turn down that radio and say, Dad, I just want you to know that I appreciate how hard you work for us. Could you do that? Yes, especially if you're a teenager. If you're 14 and you've been looking at this for some ideas about what to get for your dad, you could do this. Because trust me, Between the ages of about 13 and 16 or 17, sometimes it's hard to retain or hang on to an open relationship with Dad. And you need to know it's not easy for Dad either. And Dad, when you're driving that truck, maybe you think, you know, I'm not going to take refuge behind a stupid country western song anymore. That's a hard piece of wood. I'm not going to sit here and drive along pretending there's no one in the passenger seat next to me. Turn off the radio. Say, son, how's it going in school? You had a problem with X, Y, or Z. With girl A, B, or C. With teacher, you know what I mean. Stop letting the radio and our devices fill the air. Maybe, back to the kids, maybe you're his daughter and you've got some insecurities in your life about any number of things, because kids always do. Maybe you write him a letter. Maybe you write him a note for Father's Day. Dad, I know I'm sometimes not easy to deal with. Own that. And right then you'll be able to follow that with any sentence that's on your heart. Or maybe you're a son that's somewhere near my age and your dad will be soon dead. Maybe to facilitate the discussion, you go into wherever your dad's at with a tape recorder or your phone and set it on video and put it on a little stand and let it run and say, Dad, tell me again about your time in the Navy. Dad, let me get this straight. When did you move up from California? Dad, tell me again about that Cocker Spaniel. You know what I mean? Even somebody my age, if they've still got a dad, can prompt him to share those stories again. And then at the right moment in that story, it'll prompt you to have something to say that maybe you always felt like you should have and were never able to. Right? Anyway, you get this. We all get this. Maybe you're the mother of a middle-aged son that you're watching struggle. Maybe he had a marriage go sideways. Maybe he's recently lost his job and you know he is racked with anxiety about what's next. What is AI going to do to my job? Well, back to speaking to dads. If you're still alive and you can still talk and there's any kind of a relationship there, you can provide some input, some comfort. You can share with him a story from when you were a middle-aged man and you just didn't see how in the world you were going to make that next house payment or that next year's house payments. And yet, here you are, you're still standing. And you can help your middle-aged sons realize that it's easy for them when they think they've come to their full stature as a man, and they have, to think that they know everything they need to know when they are at their full stature as a man. And you can reassure them, listen, there's still plenty. There's still plenty in your future. I don't know. And I stand convicted in many of these sentences I've just uttered about things we could say to our dads. But it doesn't matter, because Father's Day is about here. And then, God willing, maybe there'll be another. And if you can't do any of these significant things, if you can't reach over and turn off the radio while you're driving down the road, that's all right. Let one of these things, or something like it, suffice with a little note to let him know something about why what it was that you got him reflects something about what you think about him as your dad. No harm in that. Thanks for watching Essential Craftsman, and keep up the good work.